If you've been in the MMA space for a little while, I would imagine you've already seen this clip of TJ Dillashaw talking about Anthony Smith and how he will never end up being a champion. Well, there is an expansion to this clip now because apparently Anthony Smith has dropped Rampage Jackson and the guys over the Jaxxon Podcast as friends because of the things that TJ said. We have 3 clips to take a look at today. I saw Ronan MMA making a video about this fantastic channel. You guys should go check it out. And I wanted to give my 2 cents on this because I think it's crazy, okay? I'd love to know what you guys think about all of this down below. We're going to get into those clips in just a second. Before we do, though, I do want to say hello, everybody, and welcome back to another video. If you are new here, my name is Kyle. I am your guy with too many YouTube channels. Guys, let's talk about this original clip, and unfortunately, my face cam's covering TJ, which I just realized maybe we can go up here. Yeah, that's a little bit better. We'll rock it. We'll rock it right here, okay? So this is the initial clip. If you guys have already seen this original clip, you can skip a minute or two.
TJ, the most asked question on our Jaxxon Podcast, do we think Anthony Smith has what it takes to be a light heavyweight world champion?
Never.
No. Whoa. TJ,
come on.
And I get that they're boys. Rampage is already acting up. The podcast is already acting up. Luke doesn't look like he cares right there. But TJ's already spinning like, what? But it's true. It's nice to hear. It's refreshing to hear someone actually being honest. If you're in a space where you are an MMA fighter, putting your body on the line, taking all this damage, there's a lot of guys who think they are that delusional. Anthony Smith is one of those guys. I don't get why Rampage and everybody is like getting all bent out of shape about this, to be honest with you.
You're a 2-time world champion. You did it in the UFC. Let other people have a little shine. You don't got to kill his dreams like that.
Dude, I just don't. He's not good enough.
To say
like he gives up. Like, have you?
It's not even that. It's not even that. He's just not good anymore. You could argue that he never was good, but he does give up in fights. He's a shell of the fighter that he once was, and they're talking about Lionheart. As if, okay, yeah, your nickname's Lionheart. So what? So what?
I've watched the game as
Lionheart.
No, his name is Lionheart.
Lionheart. What is the nickname?
Would he give himself that?
It means to be with a lion.
Did he give himself that name or what?
And TJ Dillashaw just absolutely keeping it real. And I would imagine he has no relationship with Anthony Smith over here, so he can be honest. What I want to know is Rampage really being honest? And I'm not familiar with the co-host. I know, of course, we all know Luke Rockhold, so I'm going to keep referring to Rampage. I want to know if he's just acting surprised because Smith is friends with them. I know they're not like really core boys or anything like that, but I wonder if he's just doing that for the sake of the podcast, for the sake of any relationships within the fighting space, because he can't disagree with TJ. TJ's completely correct, and TJ's smile says everything over here. He knows that he's right.
I mean, he gives up in there, bro.
Wow.
Okay, the second round, he doesn't even try to fucking stand up. Roman's on his back. He doesn't even try to stand up.
He took the fight on a week's notice.
Shit,
yeah, but it's Lionheart, TJ. I don't. He's again keeping it real. He just does not care. He's correct in what he's saying. How many fighters have you seen take fights on short notice and they heart their way through it? Anthony Smith does not have that in him.
Fight until I die, dog. I'm fighting with one arm. I'm doing whatever I possibly can.
Killshot, you a different breed. Hey, Killshot, you a different breed. That's why you on the podcast.
And yeah, he is a different breed, but he's just pointing out what Anthony Smith is. Who cares? That has nothing to do with the conversation unless he's just glazing TJ there. I love the look on TJ's face. He's just like, what are these guys... What are these guys talking about right now? I can't believe that they're arguing with me about this. That's what TJ's face is saying.
So you a co-host.
You got to say without due respect before you put it.
With all due respect, he'll never be a champion.
I like how Luke is friends with Anthony Smith, so on this one now he doesn't say anything.
With all due respect, Roman Deletes is horrible.
And Luke just jumps on it. I did not expect to see that. Luke jumps on him, just says Roman Deletes is horrible. He's getting held down, and they're reacting, of course, to the fight with Smith and Roman Deletes. Roman is in a weight class below them. I understand you have the skill gap moving up, but Roman isn't exactly a good fighter either. I just love TJ's face still, man.
I mean,
all right, good. Look, hey, backing up his boy.
He don't do nothing right.
And even if these two are boys, okay, if Rampage is boys with Anthony Smith, I think if in the sport that they're in, you should be honest with somebody like Anthony Smith. Like, have a conversation with Anthony Smith kind of similar to how Joe Rogan had the conversation with Brendan Shaw back in the day. I remember everybody freaking out about that, but Rogan was coming from a place of compassion saying, you can't compete with guys like Cain Velasquez. I think you need to look for another way to make money, and you're a smart guy. This is coming from love. I don't think they should have done it publicly, of course. I think that's where Joe Rogan went wrong with it, but I don't like it when all these fighters are constantly glazing each other. Like, yeah, Tony Ferguson, you can still be a champion. That's crazy. This guy is taking life-changing brain damage and he's going to die early. Anthony Smith needs to have that conversation had because he is incapable of figuring it out himself. And it's nothing like against Anthony Smith. It very well could be the brain damage. But he's been taking too much damage in there. He's probably going to take more damage in this weekend, depending on the time that you're watching this video. It's not right. I don't think it's right for his friends to just sit back and say, yeah, Anthony Smith, you have what it takes to become a champion, when he so clearly doesn't. He's slow in there. He is a shell of the fighter that he once was.
All right, he took the fight on short notice.
I didn't know that because I was like thinking too. He's like, bro, it's round 1 and you're breathing out your mouth already. Just a mouth breather.
Half the card was on short notice.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. One thing is half this card. This was a curse card.
But none of that matters. None of that matters because at the end of the day, Anthony Smith does not have the heart in it, and he does not have the skill capable of being a champion.
The card was on short notice. Step in, step out, step out.
Why? Because Conor pulled out. So what? A lot of people were like, fuck that. I'm not getting the pay-per-view money I thought I was going to get.
Well,
so
they don't get pay-per-view.
I'm sure some do, don't they?
Mostly, usually just champions or big superstars.
For real?
You gotta wear the gold gloves to get pay-per-view.
No way. Some co-man. I remember when I was co-man.
Only if they're a big name, dude.
How do you guys feel about the gold gloves?
And I know that they're talking. They're gonna get into a little bit more. I have timestamps over here.
They're horrible looking. Right?
Hey,
They're like
hey,
toy
Anthony,
gloves.
Anthony Smith. Well,
Horrible.
You guys won without him, so of course you guys are gonna hate. Anthony Smith, I think, is a great fighter. I think that I agree with the Joe Rogan analogy when he was talking about Brendan Schaub. You either
and I didn't remember that he actually brought up this point. I brought up the Joe Rogan on my own. So that's something that needs to be spoken to with Anthony Smith.
You're all in or you're all out. But you can't be half in, half out. And right now he's doing great as an analyst. He's doing all these things outside of the cage. So I feel
But he's not even doing that great job of an analyst, to be honest with you. Like, it's great that he's making money elsewhere. And oh boy, we're going to get into the analyst thing because the response to this clip is crazy.
like maybe he's just fighting to
Yeah,
fight.
he could talk well, and he breaks some things down, but he's talking shit on Padilla, which makes no sense to me because see what Padella's done. He's 3 years in the UFC, and the guy's a fucking legend. And
yeah, and you talk about the Anthony Smith thing where it's like, well, if we're talking about Alex Pereira, if you break him down, it's crazy how intelligent he tries to sound, right? And it's insulting to the viewers, right? Because he thinks that we're all that dumb. If you really break down Alex Pereira, he's such a good kickboxer, but if you take like the one high kick that he throws and you isolate it, is he really good at that one high kick? Yeah, but that doesn't matter. He uses it all together. He's a fantastic kickboxer. Why are we separating his one leg and talking about that? And I know it sounds ridiculous, but if you have not listened to Anthony Smith break things down, that's where he goes, and he tries to sound so intelligent doing it.
Openings were there all day long to get a win here, and he doesn't take advantage of them. He gets bum rushed and falls down here in this round very soon. Doesn't even really get punched that hard and just like falls down, almost knocks himself out with his own head hitting the mat.
And I know there's a meme now where everybody's calling it like the Anthony Smith position when you're like cuddled up on the ground, just protecting yourself.
And then never tries to get back to his feet.
It's hard. It's hard to see how he loses this fight right now because it's just there's nothing that D-Bleeds is doing.
It was a short notice. You guys ever took a fight on 2 weeks
Yeah,
notice?
I have. I've taken a fight on week notice.
Oh.
And it doesn't matter. Even the people who take these fights on week notice, day notice, whatever, they give so much more heart and energy than you see from Anthony Smith.
10-8 Rampage, 10-8 Ramp, 10-8.
But who was that fight against?
I was fighting in San Jose, and I was fighting Hugo Viana. Knocked him out for
And he
sure.
won in the first round. Thank you. I remember that fight.
All right, respect.
Hey, brother.
There's nothing Rampage could say about that. All right, you did a good job on short notice.
Have you ever took a fight on short 2 weeks notice?
Yeah, have you, Luke? Yes or no?
I mean,
No. Thank you. So
Yeah,
y'all quit
thank
talking
you.
shit about my boy Anthony Smith.
Thank you, Luke.
But like
And it's crazy because, again, Anthony Smith has a response there, and Rampage is just defending him.
also
But Luke
like,
is a world champion.
I'm
Yeah, he's
always
just-
in shape.
he just
I'm
blitzed
always fucking training when
Yeah,
I'm
but
getting
you're a
ready.
different breed. Yeah, you know.
It doesn't matter if he's a different breed. Why are they talking about that, though? Anthony Smith is not the same breed as TJ Dillashaw, and that's why he doesn't have what it takes to be a champion. TJ was asked a question, and he answered it. There's nothing wrong with that.
He's a world champion, so let's
Now
go light
watch.
on Luke.
This is my go back. We rewind it. It's like he gets bum rushed. He doesn't even really get punched. Watch.
he gets blitzed here pretty
He
good.
just gets blitzed. He doesn't really get punched that hard, and he falls down, almost knocks himself out with his head hitting the mat.
Wow, yeah.
So
So
what-
they can do it again. TJ's just smiling. TJ just laughing. TJ's completely correct and he knows it.
should he have done then, TJ, when he was getting rushed?
He obviously got his equilibrium thrown off though too.
I just think he's tired, unfortunately. You know,
He
did
really?
take-
He
took
could have
the
hit
fight-
his head.
I think he
Hit the
took
back
the
of his
fight
head.
on short notice, right? So he's tired, and so when a guy's gonna blitz you, if you're like,
But other guys, and we'll leave it at there, and I don't know why it reloaded, but because I was going to end it around this timestamp anyways, but other guys would give more effort than that. So that was a clip. Anthony Smith was asked a question, or excuse me, TJ Dillashaw was asked a question. He answered it honestly, and we have a new part of this where they had a podcast with TJ Dillashaw on the Jaxxon Podcast again, but this time with Khalil Roundtree, and I'm covering him again. I need to put my face cam like somewhere over here. I don't have a good spot for my webcam, man. I don't know what to do. Maybe I'll switch it around depending on who's talking. We'll start with it right here, okay? I want to come prepared for these videos. How about this? There we go. A little bit better there. There we go. Okay. So, listen to what Rampage Jackson says about after that clip because they talk about Anthony Smith again.
I just want to say one thing about this fight, and
with Joshua.
no, the fight we just watched right here with Anthony Smith.
Oh,
Yes.
Smith.
You ruined my friendship with Anthony Smith.
Yeah, and mine. And
Why?
mine.
Just
Because we had your back.
We had I didn't have I
Yes,
had
you
Anthony
did.
Smith back.
No, we had his. Oh,
No.
And they did. They absolutely did have his back.
We had Anthony Smith
I
back.
got your
Okay,
back.
so the only reason why his feelings got hurt is because again it was
his
true.
feelings didn't get hurt.
No.
You were
Now, that's crazy, first of all, Anthony Smith. Cutting off these people that were not only defending you because somebody else insulted you. And it wasn't really, I mean, I guess it was an insult, but he was asked a question. Do you think Anthony Smith could be a champion? No, he doesn't have what it takes. And he broke down the fight that was in front of him. Showed why he doesn't think that he has to be a champion. Why would you then cut Rampage and a co-host that, I'm not familiar with the co-host, but apparently they're boys. Why would you cut them from your life? How does that make any sense? Then you can get into the argument, maybe it's CTE. Maybe he doesn't have the best decision making. It's crazy to me. And were you really that close if you're if you're cutting him off because TJ Dillashaw said something on a podcast? Why are you talking to Rampage? Why are you cutting off Rampage when you should be cutting off? I mean, I don't think you should cut off TJ Dillashaw, but if you're going to be mad at somebody, be mad at Dillashaw.
just being a little aggressive.
Yeah,
towards
you-
him,
Why?
huh?
Because he gave up?
No, he
Yeah,
didn't. Oh,
No, he didn't give up.
he didn't give
Yes,
up.
he
But-
did.
but you-
100% gave up.
He
Again, TJ Dillashaw being completely correct in here, and you can see that he's angry, and he's justified in being upset.
he thought that me and him. He thought that Barry and I was making fun of him.
we
with
would
you.
never. We would
I
never.
wasn't making fun of him. I was spitting facts. The
You
guy,
were
the guy
you were
quit.
using a form of bullying.
I think
By what?
You were using a form of bullying against a UFC fighter. Are we serious right now? Are we serious? You're in a professional sport where people just destroy each other physically. You have fist fights. Oh no. TJ Dillashaw was using a form of bullying. Get
Telling
real.
the truth.
I think you should pick a nicer way to tell the truth.
Sometimes the truth.
But this I can't believe I love Rampage. I love him, but I can't believe that just left his mouth. I think you should pick a nicer way to say it. He answered it honestly. And he could have been more mean. He could. Do you know the amount of things that he could have said about Anthony Smith? Do you know how much source material is there? If you want to dive into Anthony Smith, all he said and was he pointed out exactly why he won't be champion. He was watching a fight with Anthony Smith. He answered a question. Rampage says, I think you should have put a nicer way of saying it. That was nice as far as how much you can go with Anthony Smith, man.
truth isn't nice.
It's
bro.
just like you trying to fight John Jones. Like John Jones a day before
never
his
said
fight,
that.
a day before John Jones'
because
fight.
you guys released something me saying then that fight shouldn't be happening.
A day before John Jones.
And again, like, depending on what, like, is there anything wrong with TJ Dillashaw saying that fight shouldn't be happening?
this fight, he's leaving a comment on my Instagram video saying, TJ, you're crazy. This isn't true. I have to fight Stipe. Stipe's a legend. Stipe is a legend. John Jones is a legend, but so is TJ Dillashaw. So let's put some respect on his name, Rampage Jackson.
Well, I never said that
That's right.
TJ is not a legend. I'm just saying that he ruined my friendship with Anthony Smith.
And why are you blaming TJ for that? Blame Anthony Smith for that. TJ did nothing wrong. You blame Anthony Smith and say, Smith, if you're willing to cut me off with that, if you're willing to cut me off with somebody else saying something on a podcast, then we weren't boys at the same time. You should make Anthony Smith explain himself because it doesn't make any sense.
Well, if that ruined your friendship, your guys' friendship wasn't that fucking tight.
And that's completely correct. TJ, again, being 1000% correct. The friendship wasn't that tight if it was destroyed by somebody else saying like that.
Touche.
Anthony,
True,
gave,
you know?
Anthony gave me a lot of love after that one. I stood my ground. But I think, TJ, I think we get a round table between John Jones, Anthony
And this is where they go a little bit off topic, but there was one more clip about all this because, again, They continue on. Let me bring you over to another clip of the podcast, a couple minutes of it over here. Let's continue on.
TJ's under attack right now from a lot of people on the internet.
And he should be, man. He talked about our boy Lionheart, man. And you pissed him.
TJ's still laughing about it, and this is another episode. Rampage trying to, I guess, scrape up whatever he can about his relationship with Anthony Smith, which isn't going to happen.
Bring it up, but
No, fuck that. The Lionheart came at me like I was making fun of him, and I wasn't.
So why are you pointing to TJ and telling him about that? You tell that to Anthony Smith.
Standing up for him.
Yeah.
But I didn't say nothing bad. All I said was he's not going to be a champion.
That's bad.
What do you mean? He lost, and he lost to a guy that wasn't even near the top, and he didn't look very good. So why am I going to sit here and think a guy's going to be a champion when he lost, he gave up? Like,
Yeah, and I respect that completely. I respect that from Dillashaw. What I wouldn't want to hear from him is, oh yeah, Anthony Smith is going to be a champion 100%. No, I value TJ's opinion. And anybody with eyes can come to that same conclusion. And I think that Rampage is being dishonest by saying otherwise.
I've never seen him give up.
bro, he.
But how could you sit here and say that? How could you sit here and say I've never seen him give up? He gives up all the time. The Anthony Smith position. They named it a meme. The Anthony Smith position, where it's something along the lines of this, where you're getting pounded on the ground. Oh, crazy. It's like when Derek Lewis talked about the Travis Brown dance whenever somebody gets like wobbled. It's the same thing that Anthony Smith is coming to.
You have a 2-on-1 with someone on your back and you're just going to stay on your knees? Would you stay on your knees?
Oh, that's not
you
giving
love
up.
staying on your knees.
Yeah, he fucked up.
Rampage dodging that question, by the way.
I pray on my knees. No, but you know, that's not giving up, is it? Like that's probably not.
That's not giving up? Staying on your knees and doing nothing? That's not giving up? Just letting people pound you to death? That's not giving up?
The same.
I mean, no man's holding me down.
Yeah, but you weigh 110 motherfucking pounds.
180 right now, dog.
Maybe that's why.
You know,
It's hard to hold that man down.
I've seen you train. You're a great wrestler, you know, and wrestlers, you know, I've seen great wrestlers. It's hard to hold a lot of them down. But I don't know his wrestling credentials. But
Okay, so
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You can do what you can to get up. He gave up. There's not even an effort from Anthony Smith to get back to his feet. I don't care how much wrestling you know. I can fight somebody who has all the heart in the world and no martial arts knowledge. I take them down. I'm trying to hold them down. At least there's an effort to get up, right? That might not work, but at least the effort's there. Anthony Smith just sits on his knees and does nothing.
it's not about that he's a wrestler or not wrestler. It's the position that he had, right? He had a 2-on-1, guy on his back, doesn't have hooks in. All you got to do is stand to your feet. But he might have been, he took the fight on short notice, whatever.
Yeah.
Got to give him a little credit for that, man. The man took it on, what,
Yeah.
week, 2 weeks
Couple
notice
weeks
at
notice,
most.
so
It doesn't matter. Even just that fight, Anthony Smith gives up in his fights.
probably gassed out, but
A bit tough.
I mean, I'm dying in
I think you owe him an apology because
hell no.
hold on.
And I
We are
love that from TJ. I love that. Not apologizing for that, telling the truth, and he doesn't owe Anthony Smith anything.
never apologizing for anything on this podcast, and don't start that trend.
no, because I think he came
He's
he
a
came
world
at him.
champion.
You guys asked me a
He can
question.
say
Do
what
you
he
think
wants.
do you think he's gonna be a
Don't
world
bully
champion?
TJ now.
You asked
Don't
me.
bully
listen to me.
TJ. Don't
Look,
do that.
look, you're gonna have my back here.
You
No.
asked me a question.
We are all world champions. We're all entitled to our own opinion.
Thank you.
I think that means Luke secretly agrees with TJ.
The reason why
Except
we
for
put
you, Bear.
together this
Except
host,
for you, Bear. You could shut the fuck up.
I don't have anything to say on this. I'm just a moderator.
That's what I'm talking about.
The Three Musketeers and I'm D'Artagnan. Goddamn.
Bro, you guys asked me a question if I thought I was gonna be a champion. I said no. And then you're like, why not? It's like he gives up. Like he doesn't have that fight. He
Yeah,
doesn't have that dog.
they fished that answer right out of TJ. They didn't have to ask that question. They didn't have to have him elaborate. That's Rampage's fault.
In him personally, and like I think he admitted it on himself without even hearing our podcast yet. Did a video after that, like it was kind of like deciding if he was going to continue to fight.
Okay, I just want to say my part. I respect everybody's opinion, but my thing is,
With all due respect.
With all due respect, I joke around and stuff a lot, and I don't mean nothing I say personal and stuff like that. I don't want the fighters. I feel like they're my comrades. I don't want them thinking like, oh fuck Rampage, you making fun of me and stuff like that. When I'm not, I just like to joke around and laugh and be entertaining.
And I think that's important for fighters to get into too. It's so crazy to me that we're in a sport like I talked about where people beat each other up, trying to kill each other, and everybody's so worried about other people's feelings. People take things like so personally. Nobody can joke around. The amount of people that get offended by Rampage is crazy, and Rampage just is just sitting down trying to have some fun. Doesn't really apply to Anthony Smith here, but what can you do?
You know, I don't take personal digs at people unless I don't like them, like somebody like Vanille or somebody else, and I don't even make personal digs about him anymore. So I just don't want the fighters to think that, you know, say I don't respect them or I'm making fun of them, so especially on the show, because we want them to come on the show so the fans can get to know them in a different light besides us.
And that's fine. That's fine. But why did Anthony Smith cut you off? That has nothing to do with it.
You're coming from a good place, and I appreciate you being a good person. This is a whole different Rampage we're not used to seeing. I would say somewhat getting soft, but I don't want to say it. But I do appreciate the fact that you care about what people think now, and it's not for you. You're thinking for other
Hang on, look at Rockhold's face. Look at Rockhold's face.
that shows that you're emotionally vulnerable and you're ready for a girl and you're ready to settle down.
Shut the fuck up.
Podcast, though, I do want to make it clear. I love Anthony Smith. I think he's a dog. I think he's a great person. I think he's a great analyst and a great fighter. I've never fought, so I don't have a pedigree to say if someone's...
You can think all that, but you can also think that Anthony Smith doesn't have what it takes to be a champion. That's all fine. There's nothing wrong with thinking that. And if you're really that butthurt about Anthony Smith, go out and prove everybody wrong. If you really want to be a champion, if you think you can be the best champion there ever was, then go out and prove it. If you're so good at being an analyst, breaking fighters down, game planning, everything, go do it. I'll be the first to say, hey, I was so wrong about Anthony Smith. I will be the first person to say that. But I'm not wrong, TJ's not wrong, and everybody encouraging Anthony Smith is doing a huge disservice to his health.
It's good or bad, but I will never tell a world champion what to say and what not to say, and we will never censor anybody on this podcast.
Listen, I understand that, but I don't think I'm saying. I got roped in there, and I saw his interview with Michael Bisping, and he's talking about I'm making fun of him, and I wasn't.
You did.
No, I didn't.
You have to own up to your mistakes.
No, what did I say that was making fun of him?
I really don't think he made fun of him.
Thank you.
Okay.
I
But I'm
mean,
with
but
you.
dude, the guy's got to sit there and be like, why are you going to have such, wear your feelings on your sleeve? I mean, he sits there and talks shit on people on broadcast all the time.
And that's something that I was going to bring up. And I'm going to finish this clip, and I'm going to bring it up because there's only 30 seconds left in this clip, because that is the most important thing about all this. Anthony Smith is the first one to start dogging on people about their skill sets.
I'm no stranger to it. He said some shit about me. It's like, whatever, dude. It's like, that's just how I feel. And if you don't like it, if the truth hurts, too fucking bad.
All right, I'm not.
Yeah, and people talk about TJ Dillashaw all the time. I don't know if Anthony Smith has said anything about TJ, to be honest with you. I would imagine that he did. But TJ's secure enough in himself to where he doesn't let it bother him, and he's not cutting off other people in his life.
Getting soft, but I want to respect the podcast, because how the podcast going to be successful if we can't get no fighters on because Rampage is going to make fun of me?
Yeah, but you also have to state how you feel too.
But they weren't, and Rockhold's right. Rockhold's right. You can't be dishonest. And what Rampage was doing this whole time is being dishonest about Anthony Smith. There's no way that he believes what he said.
People value opinion, and you can't shade your opinion just because you don't want to hurt someone's feelings. So you got to be true to form, real to yourself.
And I think that was really said by Rockhold, to be honest with you.
Podcast is going to be successful if you're truthful.
And sorry, did I say really said? Really well said. TJ's right. The podcast is going to be successful if you're truthful, as long as you're not crossing any boundaries on YouTube. But the biggest thing about Anthony Smith, and this is the most important part, Anthony Smith, whether it's on the Believe You Me podcast, whether it's anytime you see him on social media or on the analyst desk, he is the first person to talk about people not being that good, people being beatable. Is this guy a really good striker? Look at Alex Pereira. He sees holes in his game. Is Alex Pereira even that good? Is John Jones even that good? Anthony Smith is the first person to break people's styles down in the incorrect way that he does and straight up say that these people are not good fighters. The second that one other fighter says that he doesn't have what it takes to be a champion and he gives up something that we've watched him do over and over again, then he has a problem with that. Not only is he have a problem with what was said, is he's cutting off the people who didn't say it. It doesn't make any sense. Anthony Smith is becoming a Tony Ferguson. He's on his way. And if he keeps having this false sense of confidence from himself, he's going in there and saying he was yapping at Johnny Walker about his family in the middle of it. He is going to reach a Tony Ferguson level if he continues. And I think the people that are encouraging him, the people that are encouraging Tony Ferguson, guys like BJ Penn, it's not okay. And I respect TJ for actually being honest with that. And on top of that, there's straight up nothing wrong with what TJ said. He was asked a question, they asked him to elaborate, and he did. And he looked at, he could have said a lot about Anthony Smith, but he looked at what was in front of him, and he used that. There's nothing wrong with that. I'd love to know what you guys think about this down below. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you want to keep watching the channel, I recently uploaded a video about my favorite UFC fighters of all time. You can check out that video right here if you want to keep watching the channel. Thank you so much for being here, everybody. Take care.